Higher paper, 13th of June 2012. First one, relatively simple. There are 180 degrees on a straight line. So you know that that missing angle in there is 133 degrees. Once you've worked that out, and you've said it, because you've got to say it, you can spot that this is a Z angle down here. And that one is also 133 degrees. So a Z angle is an alternating angle. You must say alternating angle. And the answer down there is 133 degrees. Question 2. Use your calculator to work this one out. Just put it in, you get that and that. Divide it, you get that. You must give your answer as a decimal. So if it gives it as a fraction, just convert it. So that's that. One significant figure. It just wants one main number in it, so it's nearer to 40 than it is to 50. What's wrong with this questionnaire? There is no option for more than 4 hours if you do sport, and there's no time scale. It should say how much time do you spend playing sport per week or per month, for example. So a better one is down here. How much time do you spend playing sport per week? I put 0 to 1 hours, 1 plus to 2 hours, 2 plus to 3 hours, and 3 hours plus, and that will get you the full marks. You must say per week or per month. Don't use per day, because I think that's too short a time scale to use. Question number 4. It tells you the values of x up here are from -1 to 3. So that's why I put them in, -1 to 3. You've got to use this formula here, y equals 3x take away 2, and substitute in your values of x, and you get your values of y, like that. And then you plot them on your graph, and it should be a nice straight line. If any of your points are in the wrong place, like here for example, you know that it's wrong. So go back and check your workings up the top. Question 5. Question 5, first of all, has got a little star next to it, right up there. This means question 5 is a functional question, and you must show your workings very, very clearly. Sorting out a garden and this one, and a bit of fertilizer. First thing I did, I worked out this area here of the grass, and the way I do that is to find out this length here. So I did 17 take away 2.8 to give me 14.2. So I know that that there is 14.2 meters from there to there. So the area of the grass is 14.2 multiplied by 9.5, which is the height, and that gives you that. That's probably your first 2 marks there, pretty easy. You've got a couple of ponds, so you need to find out the area of each pond. Obviously they're circles. Area of a circle, the formula is pi times the radius squared. So it's pi times the radius. Don't forget the radius is only halfway. So that is the radius there. So you need to half 3.8, and that gives you 1.9. So put in your calculator, you get 11.24. There's 2 ponds, so it'll give you 22.68. So the area of grass is your area we had previously up here, and you need to take away the 22.68, which gives you 112.22 meters squared. That's 4 marks. The very last mark is to do with the fertilizer coming in bags of 25 meters squared, or that's how much it will do. So you need to divide your answer by 25 to give you 4.49. So if it's 4.49, you need 5 bags to do it with. It must be explained as clearly as that. Don't have workings all over the place, because it's got to be really easy to follow. Split your page up like I've done that. Question 6, again, functional. There's the star next to it. You've got to work out who's got the cheaper potatoes. I've done it, and I've said at the top, look, I'm going to calculate the price per kilogram. So for the farm shop, see how well laid out it is, £9 over 12.25 kilograms, so that's 72p a kilo. Supermarket done the same thing, 73p a kilo. So the farm shop is cheaper. 4 marks for that, quite a lot. Question 7, this is about a graph. First of all, I've drawn the line of best fit on already, but what's the correlation? It's going down, so it's negative, which is there. A different car has the same type as engine. A different car of the same type has an engine size of 2.5 litres. 2 marks for this. You must draw in your line of best fit, which you see I've done, and then draw up from 2.5, which is there, hit the line, come off it, and you should get somewhere around 11 kilometres. I think they accept from 10.5 to 11.5 on that one. So 3 nice easy marks. Transformations, the next one. Rotate triangle A clockwise 90 degrees. So that's triangle A, clockwise 90 degrees around centre row. If you remember, we used to use tracing paper for this, or you might be able to spot how to do it. It comes round here, so it ends up there. The next one is slightly trickier. You've got to enlarge triangle B by scale factor 3 around the 0.12. Now they've marked the 0.12 on it. Scale factor 3 means it needs to be 3 times as big. So if that's 2, you can see my triangle here, which I'll shade in so it's clear for you. There you go. My triangle is 6 wide at the bottom, and because it's 3 high here, it's 9 high. Because from the point there, 0.12, it is 2 gaps to that bottom corner of the triangle. So because we're enlarging it by scale factor 3, so 2 times 3 is 6, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where it starts. That's why I put a cross there. And from there, you can work it out. If you want to double check, just draw a line going from your point through the point of the small triangle, and it should hit the corner of the big triangle. 3 marks for that. Question 9. Linda is going on holiday to the Czech Republic. She needs to change the money over. I've just done it, I think, quite logically. It tells me there, look, I've not read anything new. £1 is 25.82 koruna. So I've multiplied both sides by 200. So £200 is 5,164 koruna. But it does say how many 100 koruna notes can she get, because that's all she wants to get for some reason. So you need to divide 5164 by 100 to give you 51.64. So that will be 51 100 koruna notes she can get. She can't get 52 because she doesn't have enough money. Next one, question 10. M is an integer such that it is greater than -2 or less than or equal to 3. So the ones in between should be -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. This one down here, we have done it before. First thing you need to do, and you see in the step I've done here, take out that inequality sign, just put an equal sign in. It's exactly the same, but I put the equal sign in, and now we're going to get x on its own. So I've added 9 to both sides, and that gives me 7x equals 3x add 13. I've taken 3x off both sides, so that leaves me with 4x equals 13. Divided both sides by 4 to get x on its own, so it takes me up here. So that will give me x equals 3.25. The very last step, put the sign back in. So that's your answer there. Question 11. Trial and error, this one. Let's get it so you can see it. These are always lovely, easy marks in the exam. It tells you the solution is between 4 and 5, so this is how you must set it out. I start, if it's between 4 and 5, start off at 4.5 in the middle. To me it makes sense. Work it out by putting it in the equation there. And for 4.5 I came up with 64.125, which is obviously too small because it has to equal 72. So I tried 4.6. That was also too small. You've got to make these comments here. Sometimes it's worth actually writing comments to remind yourself. And then I tried 4.7, which was too big, but I had a look, and 4.6 is actually the one that's closer, because that is closer to 72 than that is. This is closer to 72, so closest is in there. There we go. Question 12. The probability that a biased dice will land on a 5 is 0.3. Megan rolls it 400 times. Simply do 400 times 0.3 is 120. Quite nice, that one, not too bad at all. Next one, mean of group data. I'll talk you through it, but here it is. Add up your frequency column, should give you 40. Find your midpoints of the time taken here. So the midpoint is obviously 5, 15, 25 and so on. Frequency times midpoint, multiply them across. Add up the total is 1130, and then just do the sum at the end, 1130 divided by the total number you had, which was 40, and you get 28.25, and that is the answer. Question 14, expand and simplify at the top. Quite easy this, I think. You should be okay with it. I do the smiley face method. There's other methods you could do, a grid one, but this is the easiest. I multiplied it out, I got p squared, take away 36, add 9p, take 4p, and simplified it to p squared, add 5p, take away 36. 2 marks for that, which I've got in the answer bit there. Next one's a little bit trickier, but nothing we can't handle. Let's get it in there, so zoom it in for you. Right, just talk you through it. You've got to solve it to basically find out what w is. First of all, that being dividing by 3 is annoying me, so I multiply both sides by 3. So that gets rid of the divide by 3, so that's 5w take away 8, but you've got to multiply the 4w by 3 to give you 12w, and 2 by 3 gives you 6. And now you can just start playing around with it. Let's get rid of the negative 8 by adding on 8 to both sides. Let's get that 12w on that side, so all the w's on the same side, and that will give you minus 7w equals 14. Divide both sides by 7, and you'll end up with w equals minus 2 down the bottom there. W equals minus 2. Next one, this is completing the sum of the squares. Factorise x squared, take away 49. It does just come out to x add 7, x take away 7, because obviously the square root of 49 is 7. Simplify 9x to the power 8, y to the power 3, all to the power a half. Because it's in brackets and you're doing it to the power a half, that essentially means you're square rooting your whole numbers. Then that means you half your index numbers. So 8 halves to, so x to the power 8, the 8 halves to 4, y to the power 3, the 3 halves to 1 1/2, which is 3 over 2. Quite nasty, that one. 15. Quite big on this. Another one, look at that. It's a functional question, so you will get marks for how you lay your work out. Let's see what we've got. It's about a water meter, should he get one installed or not. It tells you at the top. With no water meter, it's £107 a year, so we're going to work out how much it is with a water meter. First of all, it tells me in the question that he uses 180 litres a day, so I've times it by 365 days a year to give me 65,700 litres per year. We need to convert this 65,700 litres to cubic metres, and it tells me here that 1 cubic metre is 1,000 litres, so I simply divide it. So he's used 65.7 cubic metres per year. All right, in that, per year. Right, so we need to find out how much it is for every cubic metre used. It says so up here. So it actually says it's 91.22 pence. Really careful, that's a horrible way of saying it. Convert it to pounds, so it's 0.9122. Multiply that together with how much he uses, and you'll get 59.93. Because it's money, we need to round sensibly, so that's why I've rounded to 59.93. That 28.20, £28.20 is the fixed charge it talks about at the top of the question. So add them together and it gives you £88.13. So obviously, so it is cheaper with a water meter by £18.87, because a water meter costs £107. So it does work out cheaper. Your work should be laid out very neatly like that as well, so it's really easy to follow. Use lines like I've done just to separate the page off. Question 16. Very classic trigonometry question this. There's your triangle. We have got to find the angle marked x. So what I've done, I've labelled it up. The side opposite the angle is the opposite. The long side's the hypotenuse and the other side is the adjacent. We are interested, I've got sine opposite over hypotenuse, cos adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan opposite over adjacent. I remember it, some old hags carry a huge tub of ale, but you can remember it however you want. We use cos in this case because we know the adjacent and we know the hypotenuse, so we use these two. So cos x is 6.4 over 9.6. In your calculator, you'll have to work this out and then multiply it by the inverse cos, because you're trying to find the angle. If you're not sure how to do that, see me in class. You should get 48.1896, and it does ask it to the answer to 1 decimal place, so 48.2 degrees, because we need to round up. Okay, I'll leave that one there in case you want to look at all the workings I've done for that question. Question 17. Nice and easy, this one. Compound interest. So what we're going to do is, it involves powers, so it's £6,200 multiplied by the 1, because it needs to stay the same, 0.025 to the power 3, because it's for 3 years, and that's £6,676.72. Nice and easy. Question 18. The diagram, there we go, the diagram shows a quadrilateral. Here we go. Right, we've ultimately got to find out this length here, CD. But to do that, we need to find out what BD is first. So I'm going to calculate BD, like I've said here. I'm going to use Pythagoras. So because we know the long side, it's 16 squared, take away 12 squared, which equals 112, square root that is 10.58. So BD is 10.58, and that is centimetres long. Now we've got to calculate CD. We're going to, first of all, need trigonometry for this, so let's label it up. The long side is the hypotenuse, so let's label that. The side opposite the angle is the opposite, so we need that one. And the other one is the adjacent. And the sides we are interested in is this one that we know, so the opposite. And because we're finding the hypotenuse, we're interested in that. So that means we use sine, some old hags, opposite over hypotenuse. So sine 40, because 40 is the angle, equals the opposite. I'll put that in brackets after it. That's opposite over the hypotenuse. And I've called it x because that's the length we're trying to find. So that's x there. We need to rearrange this to get x on its own. So I've multiplied both sides by x. So that gives you x times sine 40 equals 10.58. Need to get sine 40 over this side, so divide it by both sides. So x equals 10.58 over sine 40. So x equals 16.49 centimetres. It does say in the question, make sure you give your answer to 3 significant figures. So that's why it's 16.5 is the answer. Quite a lot of work there, but you should be able to pick up some marks. I'll just scan out so you can have a quick look at what I've done. There. So I assume you've got the questions you're looking at. Okay, next one. Question 19. Here we go. A bit of standard index form and a bit of calculator use for this one. We'll definitely go through calculator use, but this shouldn't be too much of a problem for you. P squared equals x take y over x, y. So basically substitute your numbers in. That's x, take away y, divided by x times y. You work out the top and work out the bottom and you get that. And that will give you that over there. But be careful, because that is p squared. And you will need to find the value of p, it says here. So from p squared to get to p, we need to square root it, which is why I've square rooted this number here. We need to square root it to get what p is, which is 4.88 times 10 to the minus 5. But it does say give your answer to two significant figures, which is why it is 4.9 times 10 to the minus 5. When you enter this into a calculator with these questions here and these things, I would encourage you to do it like that and use the brackets, because it does separate it up a lot better doing it that way. If you're not sure how to get your brackets down off your index number or something, ask me in class, we'll go through it. Next one, make t the subject of the formula. I'll just talk you through what I've done, but this is relatively simple. First of all, you multiply the bracket out, so that's why you've got 2d, take 2t equals 4t, add 7. I'm going to get those all the t's on one side, so what I've done is added 2t there, so that gives me, what leaves me with 2d equals 6t, add 7. Get the 7 away, so take it away. So 2d, take away 7 equals 6t. I want t on its own, so it's been multiplied by 6, so I'm going to divide it by 6 to undo it. So that gives me 2d take 7 over 6 equals t, and that is what my answer is. 3 marks there for rearranging, that's not too bad. Question 21, very nasty, I felt this one, a lot of workings for it, but I'll talk you through it. Step 1, all I've done, and it's 3 marks for this, so you should be able to pick up 1 or 2 by doing a few basic things. I've multiplied out these brackets, because if you look, those brackets are 2n add 3 squared. So what that means is you've got to times it by itself. So that's what I've done here. I've timesed it by itself. So if we follow that through and simplify it, you should get 4n add 9 add 6n add 6n, which simplifies to 4n squared add 12n add 9. And I've also done the same for the other brackets there, multiply them by themselves, and that gives you 4n squared take 12n add 9. Now you need to write these out like they were up here. So what I've done is this. I've written the first one, which you should be able to see. The first one is here, and I've taken it down here, so that's written that out. And it's take away, obviously, all of this lot. So this lot turned out to be this. You've had to put it in a bracket because it's taken away everything inside the bracket. Because of the negative here, everything else in this, everything in the brackets changes its sign, because that suddenly becomes a negative 4n squared. A double negative makes the 12n positive, and a negative and a positive makes the 9 a negative. So there's the rest of it. So you should be left with what I've written out here. 4n squared, add 12n, add 9, take away 4n squared, add 12n, take 9. But that simplifies very nicely to 24n, which can be written as 8 times 3n. And the question said, prove that this here is a multiple of 8. Well, it's proof it's a multiple of 8, because look, I've worked it out down here, because it's 8 times whatever that is. So it must be a multiple of 8. I'll leave that on the screen like that, if you can see that, and if you'd like to work through it. There you go. Question 22. It's the quadratic formula. This is on the front page of your exam paper, so I'll just write that at the top. U-A-D-R-A-T, formula. You don't have to learn it, it's on the front page. You need to learn how to use it though. Let's zoom in so we can see what I've done. Right, you need to know that A is your first one here. So A in this case is 3, B is minus 4, and C is minus 2. So there's your quadratic formula. Put your numbers in. Obviously 16 take away 24 is a double negative, so that's why it turns to 40. See how I'm keeping the plus and the minus here? Plus and the minus, because we're going to sort that out later. The reason, now that's a negative b at the start. Be careful, because b up here is also negative. So that actually, the negative and the negative turns a 4 into a positive. So that's why it's no longer negative there. You work through and you get to this stage, you got 4 plus and minus the square root of 40 divided by 6. So I'm going to calculate the positive value first. The positive value, I mean, you've got to do the positive value and the negative value, because there's always 2 answers to it. That works out to be 1.72. And the negative value, obviously you put the negative in there now, and that comes out to minus 0.387. And there's my two answers there. I'm going to leave that up there. If you want to pause it, you can see, hopefully see exactly what I've done and how I've worked through it. Okay, question 23. Max wants to take a random sample. What is meant by random sample? Every person, a random sample is where every person in the sample has an equal chance of being chosen. Describe a method Max could use to take his random sample. If I had a class of 30 students, I could put all of their names into a hat and just literally pick them out, because that way they've all got a completely even chance of being chosen. So the first one, every person has got an equal chance of being picked. Part B, it's about stratified sampling. First thing you need to do is add up the number of students, which I've done, and it's 1,140. And then you need to work out the percentage, if you like, or the decimal figure for how much 239 out of 1140 is worth. And you do that by dividing them, multiply it by 100, and that gives you 20, no it doesn't. And that gives you 20.96, excuse me, 20.96. You can't have 20.96 students, so we round it up to 21. And that is your answer for that one. Question 24. Moving on, that's question 24. There we go. Right, nasty one this, but we'll see how we get on. Here we go, we've got a triangle ABC, and it gives us some length and some angles, but we need to find out the area of ABC. First thing we need to do is decide what we're going to use, and we're going to use this formula that is at the front of the exam paper. A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sine C. First of all, we're going to find length B over here, and we can do that by using B over sine B equals C over sine C, because we're trying to find B. We know what sine B is because it says so here, it's 49 degrees. We know what C is because it says so there, and we know what sine C is because it says so there. So that's why we know where 8.7 comes from and sine 64. It's C over sine C. Obviously we need to rearrange it, so we need to get that off the bottom. So we need to multiply both sides by sine 49, which is what I've done here, and that's where B comes out to be equal to 7.31 centimetres. The next bit we need to do is find side A. Side A is down here. What I've done for side A is, and I hope you can see it, is A over sine A equals B over sine B. So that is, we don't know A, but we do know what sine A is because it's 67, which we can find out by doing this sum here, because there's 180 degrees in a triangle, so it equals 67 degrees. So that is angle A. So we're trying to find A over sine 67 equals, we now know that 7.31 over sine 49, which is sine B. Do a little bit of rearranging here again, and we come out with A is 8.92 centimetres, so I write that one on there. Now, again, at the front of your exam paper, there is a formula for the area of a triangle. Here is the formula for it. The area of a triangle is a half AB sine C. So that means it's a half times A, which is 8.92, times B, which is 7.31, times sine C, which is sine 64, and that equals 29.3 centimetres squared. It does say give the answer to 3 significant figures up the top, so make sure you do that. I'm going to just go through this page very slowly, so if you want to pause it at any time and see what I've done, you can. There's the question. Here is how I found B and A. I'll just leave that there a moment. and I'll roll down, so that's how I found the area of the triangle, and there's my workings for that. Question 25, more to go. Probability tree, two ways of doing it. You've got biscuits in a tin. I'm going to make it very clear, the way I'm doing it is I'm going to calculate the probability that they are the same and then subtract the answer from 1, because she wants to find out, Carolyn, work out the probability that two biscuits were not the same type. So what you can do is draw a probability tree, and let me just scan out a little bit so you can see what I've done. I'll talk you through it. The first bit is obviously P is plain, C is chocolate, and G is ginger, I think it is. So this is the first pick out the tin. So there's 20 biscuits in there, so it's 12 out of 20, 5 out of 20, or 3 out of 20. The next bit is for the next picks. Obviously it's plain chocolate ginger, plain chocolate ginger. Because the biscuit wasn't replaced, there's only 19 biscuits in there now, which is why it's all over 19. Obviously the plain biscuit has gone down from 12 to 11, but if you put the plain one out first, the chocolate one would still be 5 and the ginger one would still be 3. So I'll leave that there so you can see what I've done. There's two ways of doing this. I chose to find the probability that the biscuits were the same type. So that's why I've gone P, chocolate, chocolate, and ginger, ginger. I added that up down here, which gave me 158 over 380, because obviously you multiply the fractions across. So over here I did 1, take away that, which gave me the answer there, which you can simplify to that. The other way you could do it is, if you want, and I'm just going to put a square box around them now. I'm going to zoom in so you can see clearly what the numbers are in a moment, but if you add up the ones I am squaring, you will also get the answer that of 222 over 380. You will also get that. I'm going to scroll through this so in case you can't see the numbers. There's the top half of it. Okay, and there is the bottom half with my workings on. There you go. Right, question 26, last one. Vectors. It tells you OAB is a triangle. You need to find AB. So that means you need to get from A here to B there. You know that is A and that is B. So to get from A to B, two ways of doing it. You can go back along A, so that's why I put minus A, and then you go up B. So you can go back along there or up there. The other way you could do it is to go B first. So imagine going up that way first, and then minusing A, so come back along there. So it's minus A add B, or, I'll write it here, you could also have B minus A, but both of them are fine. Next bit's quite tricky. It tells you where point P is and it gives you the ratio of 3 to 1. What I've done, I've broke it into fractions, so that's your 3 part and that's your 1 part at the top. You need to find how you can get from O to P. The way you do this, if you start from O and you go along a quarter of A, because you only want a quarter, then you go along 3/4 of B. So a quarter of A and 3/4 of B, it will lead you from O to P. But you can simplify that to a quarter brackets A add 3B. Very difficult A-star question to end with. Mark it yourself, see how you get on. I hope you did well.